Hey guys, what is going on? Joseph Ulmer here again, and I've got Blake over here trying to escape, if you can see him. And I've got his F-150 back here behind me. We're back down at the shop. It's Saturday now, so I don't know if I'm gonna put this in with the last video or make this as a new video. I haven't figured that out yet, but anyway, we're back down here at the shop. The other night when I took it out for a test drive, you saw me swap through the distributors. I explained that all at the end of the video. We're still having problems with it cutting out, missing. Tried to swap the original factory distributor back in, but the ignition module on the side of it's junk. Now I'm going to take you through today. I found a BWD ignition module for it. We're going to put the ignition module on its factory distributor. We're going to swap that back in, and we're going to see if we can't get it to run without cutting out, because I would much rather run the factory Motorcraft distributor in this truck than run one of these aftermarkets that we keep having problems with. And I suspect the problem with it cutting out is in the ignition pickup inside the distributor. There's a wheel, basically a Hall effect sensor, and a wheel that picks up a signal from the crankshaft for the cylinders, and I suspect that Hall effect sensor is not picking up properly, and that's what's causing our issue. So we're going to go through, we're going to swap the distributor out, see if we can get it to run right. If that doesn't work, I've got a 90 F-250 with a 351 at the house. The 351 should use, they're both small blocks, should use the same distributor as this truck. I should be able to swap that distributor in. I know that's a good one for sure, because that truck, the last time I drove it, it ran fine, it didn't cut out, it didn't miss. So I can swap that distributor in if I absolutely have to, and see if that will tell me if I'm still having issues, if that is in fact the distributor that's a problem, or if it's something else. So hopefully we don't have to go that route, but if we do, that's what we'll do. In the meantime, we're going to get that done. We're going to go through the front brakes on this truck, because I noticed the other night when I test drove it, it does fine at slow speeds. Once you get it up to 60, 65, 70 mile an hour for any period of time and try and stop, the rotors have an atrocious warp to them, so I suspect I've got a caliper that's hanging up that's overheating one of the rotors. It's causing the rotor to warp once it gets hot, and we're going to check the calipers. I've got 2 new calipers to swap them out if that's the case. I've already swapped out the lines, the brake hoses on each side, so I'm not worried about them. They're brand new. We had one of them blow out when we first started working on this truck, so I put 2 new ones on just that way I didn't have to worry about it. So we're going to try that. Hopefully we can get this thing done where it is perfectly 100% road ready and drivable today. And so we're going to bring you along for the ride. Do me a favor, please. Don't forget to rate this video when it's all over with. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you already have, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you get notifications every time I post a new video. Also, if you have any questions, please don't forget to put them down in the comments section. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. And as always, please rate the video when it's all over with. Let YouTube know that you're enjoying watching the two of us work on stuff and try and get things right. And we're doing something here that you're all enjoying, so they'll share the video, and then please share the video yourselves. That way more people will watch this channel and I can do some more interesting projects, because I do have a few more projects coming up for you here in the future. So we're going to dive right into it. What, horse boy? You tired of the monologue? Anyway, we're going to dive right into it, and we're going to take you along for the ride. So here we go. One's out. Now, inside the distributor, if you guys can see this, hopefully okay, you have a Hall effect sensor over here, and that actually has a magnet on the inside, and that picks up, I don't know how well it's going to show up, but there are windows in this wheel, and all the windows have a bar in between them that's the same size except for one, and that one window right here is for your top dead center number 1 to tell the computer when to fire the spark, or when to fire the coil and when to fire the fuel injectors. So that being said, I have a sneaking suspicion that our cutting out issue has to do with this Hall effect sensor right here not picking up properly. Now on our old distributor, the piece that broke is this ignition module on the side. So I have a new piece here, and it's just these two screws that hold it on, and then there's a 3-prong plug-in that goes up into the pickup on the inside of the distributor. So we're going to swap that out. Technically you need a special tool for this, but I happen to have a socket that'll fit in there to release. These have screws. The old one actually has bolts, and I do have a socket that'll fit in there, so I don't need any special tool to get it out. So we're going to swap that out real quick, and then we'll drop the distributor in. I'll show you what we're doing as we're going. In order to remove this 7/32 socket, and this just happens to be a Craftsman, and it is just small enough to fit down in there and get on the bolt. So now, do not lose those. Once you do that, you just grab it, give it a nice little wiggle, and slide it straight down. Those 3 pins go into the pickup on the inside. Slide them out, and you can see it was cracked back here. I tried to use some liquid electrical tape to seal it up to see if I could get it to work the other night, and that didn't happen. It broke something inside of here when it cracked. So, new module it is. This module is a CBE24. It's a BWD. So hopefully it'll do the trick. We're going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on these pins.
Okay.
Then it's just a matter of gently sliding the new module into place and dropping our bolts back in. Okay, to tighten these bolts down, I do not want to use my ratchet because you can over tighten them very easily that way. So I'm just going to use an extension. It's basically a nut runner, and run them down till they stop, and then I'll use my baby quarter ratchet to snug them up. Okay. Now, don't overdo it. You just need them tight. You don't need them ridiculously tight. Now, alright, I'm going to shut the camera off for a minute. And as you can see, down here on the base of the distributor, there's a bunch of carbon buildup, and that is actually working its way out of the inside. So, I'm going to go through and try and clean as much of that carbon out of there as I can before I put this thing back in. This is an old distributor, but it is a factory Motorcraft distributor. You can actually see the Motorcraft stamping here still, and the factory part number right there. So we're going to try and clean this up, and then we'll put her, I'll show you dropping her back in and setting the timing. We'll be back in a second. So I got a bunch of the carbon and crap cleaned out. I actually lubed up the distributor itself. After I cleaned it all out, I put some gear oil up inside the distributor, turned it upside down and spun it to try and get the oil up in the bushings, and then that's a nice heavy oil. So we're going to try and drop this thing, and good gracious, if we do this right, so that should be roughly 10 degrees before top dead center, and I'm flailing my arms all over here like a weird goose.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Hot on my hand, shut up, boy. Timing light's pretty easy. We just set it. We have red and black, self-explanatory, that's positive and negative on the battery. And then this clamp goes on your number 1 plug wire. That's your trigger for the timing light. Make sure all your crap's out the way. Have Junior hop in and fire it up. It should be in neutral. Timing mark, or I've painted it yellow so it makes it easier to see. We're sitting right at 10 degrees. I know that light is really screwing with you and it's messing with the camera, something fierce. Yeah, the frequency of the light's screwing with the camera. But I've got it set. I still have the spout connector out, so we're going to let it sit and run for a minute. It's sounding good. It hasn't cut out. So we'll let it run for about 2 minutes. We'll double check our timing. As long as it hasn't changed at all as the engine warmed up, we'll throw the spout connector back in and it's ready to go. So we'll give it 2 minutes and see what happens. Alright guys, I don't know if it's going to show up behind me or not, but here's what we're dealing with. We are in the process of pulling the front axle apart. I know you don't have a lot of light here, but touching buttons. But I've got the axle shaft out. The lower ball joint, which I had to pull the axle shaft to get to that nut. The lower ball joint's trashed, so ordered a upper and a lower ball joint for this side. Ordered a new U-joint for the axle shaft here, because you can see that one's pretty rough looking. The other one spit a cap out on the far side, so we're going to be doing the lower ball joint, upper ball joint, and the U-joint over there as well. But we did get it fired up a little bit ago after we got the distributor dropped in, which you saw in the video. And it doesn't sound like it's missing anymore. So it sounds like that ignition module on the side of the distributor fixed our problem. Hopefully, we'll have to test drive it, but I was going to put brake calipers on it and I jacked it up, and this is why it's important anytime you're doing work, check out the front end, because I jacked it up to do the work on the front end and I found that ball joint right back there, that lower was just junk, and that's a major safety concern. When I did the safety inspection on this truck, they were still tight, but he's driven it some since then, and I suspect what happened was that it was tight from age and sitting and rust and whatever, and as he drove it, you know, just the movement of the steering wheels turning loosened everything up, and next thing you know, man, we got a junk ball joint. So look like they are actually the factory original ball joints. They don't have grease fittings on them, so we're putting some good Moog ones in. We're putting the good Moog U-joints in. Hopefully that'll last a while and get this thing safely down the road. So we're going to get back to cracking at it, and try not to bust too many more knuckles, and we'll be back here in a few. Alright guys, so got the passenger side back together. Now it's time to pull the driver's side apart, and let me bring you in here. God bless, I can't get my fingers to work. As you can see, we've got brand new U-joint, brand new upper ball joint. It's harder to see, but there is a new lower ball joint in there. That's in there. Brand new brake caliper, brake pads, got that side bled, everything's greased. So you can see the hose was brand new. We replaced that when we first started working on this truck because it blew. This hose blew out right here. And so we replaced the hose on this side. And at the same time, I did go ahead and replace the hose on this side because I figured if that one was toast, this one wasn't far behind. But you can see how old and rusty these calipers are. So we're going to replace the calipers. This U-joint, if I can get you in here. Yep, there it is right there. That one's missing, the cap's broke or chucked out, I'm not sure which. But either way, that one's missing the cap. So we're going to pull this side apart, replace that U-joint. I don't know, the cap's still there, it just busted the end out of it. So we're going to pull this side apart, replace that U-joint, replace the brake pads. I was going to replace the rotors and the wheel seals, but I couldn't get them today. So, and just so you know, on these axle nuts, you have to push in to release them. Once you take, there's a little C-clip here, take it off, you take this ring right there behind it off, and then that axle nut, you need a special 4-point socket to get into those holes. You push in on it, you remove it, you take this piece off. When you're putting it all back together, you have to have somebody spin the brake rotor for you while you're tightening it up. That way you can, and you set the preload on the wheel bearings by torquing this to 50 to 60 foot-pounds. Back it off 180 degrees and retorque it to 15 foot-pounds. Now when you back it off and retorque it, you do not move the brake rotor because that will mess with the preload on the wheel bearings. So you only rotate it when you're setting the initial torque, then you stop rotating it, back it off 180 degrees and torque it to 15 foot-pounds. And that sets your preload on the wheel bearings. You should have no end play in the wheel. That side over there is nice and tight now. So now it's time to get this side fixed up, and hopefully this thing did have a little bit of a wander in the steering, so hopefully by fixing this up we'll get rid of that wander. So I'll be back in a little bit. Well guys, we've got it both sides put back together. He's bringing her down off the lift. We're going to take it for a quick test drive now that it's 10 o'clock at night. We've been here since about 1:30ish, somewhere around that time frame. So we've got about 8.5 hours in this truck today. Probably 8 hours because we did stop to take a little snack break because we were both getting really hungry. So
I forgot we didn't put it in gear.
It's fine. It's not going to roll away.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to have it roll.
You're fine. Just leave it. It's good. So we've got the distributor in it. Hopefully that's going to work. We'll see. Check your brake fluid. We need to check that. You're fine. I'm just telling you before you shut the hood. And we're going to kick the lift out from under it, take it for a test drive. Hopefully it's not cutting out anymore. Hopefully the brakes don't get warm and start giving you the shimmy shakes every time you hit them once you get up to about 55, 60 mile an hour, because that ain't fun. It was all I could do to hold on to this truck, and I'm twice the size he is. So
I didn't have an issue.
You didn't get it up to 60, 65, 70 mile an hour either. So I would have hated to have seen you have done that because it was bad. Anyway, I digress.
There you go.
So, like I said, we're going to take it for a test drive. We'll let you know how it goes, guys. See you in a minute. Well, as you can see, guys, there is no more truck behind me. We got it out of here. We took it for a test drive. It's idling good. It's running good. The brakes still have, where is he? There he is. The brakes still have a little bit of a shake to them. The rotors are warped. I couldn't get another set of rotors today, or I'd have put a set of rotors on it. So they're not bad. It's not horrible. It's not something you can't live with. And, you know, it's not something that running around town he's going to notice. You know, you're gonna see it, you'll feel it more if you get out on the interstate and get up to highway speeds, 65, 70 mile an hour. Then you're gonna feel it, but honestly, if he can avoid running the truck that fast, he'll be doing great, because that thing at 70 mile an hour, it's tacking about 2,800 RPM. It's low geared, so it's not gonna, you know, it's not a highway runner for any stretch of the imagination. It'll eat you alive in gas trying to do it. So I'm betting that truck's probably, you know, I don't think it's a 373 truck. It might be. I had a 95 that had, it was an automatic. That was a big difference, but it had, I believe, 354s in it, and it would run down the highway okay. But I bet you his is a 373, maybe a 410 truck, but I doubt it. So anyway, it's out of here. So do me a favor, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you have, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to rate the video. That tells YouTube that we're putting out content you guys are enjoying, right? Share it with your friends, and don't forget, guys, get out there and get your hands dirty. You might have a little fun doing it, right? You can speak.
I want to.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.